why does it take so long to get the combat right? What is your approach when it comes to balancing timeline expectations versus the quality of the product?
It's still a question that it's as old as time. It's like the answer to life, right? It's a big one that it just never kind of with creating any piece of art, you could basically go forever. There's always something you want to fix, and that's why we have sequels, right? That's why we have franchises, and it's something where you ask any game developer, and they'll say we could keep making this perfect, and that's where at some point there needs to be basically a line. It's like this equilibrium line where you have enough stuff in there that the game is really, really good, and and it can be even great, right? And there's like award-winning levels, but there are still things that make it even better that you just have to cut out and move to the next iteration of the game, right? And so for us, when we're approaching what goes into the game versus how much time we have, I'm very big on player experience. And to me, when you think about any experience, there's a beginning, middle, and an end to every experience, right? Every single one. There's a beginning, middle, and end. And this journey that you go through, you will learn something from it. Either something you haven't done before, like going to a new place you never traveled to before, or maybe an experience you've already had before that you really enjoy and you get to have it again. But there's always a beginning, a middle, and an end to any experience. So for me, at the very least, I need to give players that initial core experience, right? And to me, that's combat. If it's like me releasing Street Fighter without any fighting mechanics, and I just had all the characters, all the maps, the music, and stages, and even the ready, go, and everything, right? Timer counts down, but I could just move left and right, block, maybe jump. I don't think anyone, and it's still at the level of quality that Street Fighter 6 is at, right? It's got the accessibility of the controller, the new controls. It's got all the crazy graphics, right? Everything. I don't think that game would do well at all, to be honest with you, because it's a fighting game without fighting in it. So to me, it's really about that core gameplay loop of it's a match with really solid combat, and there will be a winner to that match. And within that match, there are a lot of things that can go right and a lot of things that can go wrong. And it's always going to be different every time you play it. And if we're able to capture that, the feeling of fighting in this arena with all of these mechanics, I think players are going to be happy with that experience. And the rest from there is content. Let's add in more maps. Let's add in more weapons. Let's add in more stuff, right? But if that essence is strong and at a very basic level, there is something there, then I think everyone's going to be happy. And that's really where we can make the big improvements that can make big impacts, right, on the overall experience and how we approach content moving forward. That's why it's very important to try and get at a very base level the combat, even in one map to people, so that they can play it and tell us what they think, so that when we add in more content, we're giving people more of what they want, right? And so, yeah, it's not about rushing anything out the door and just chucking everything in the kitchen sink into it. I think that's actually the wrong strategy. Miyamoto said that a delayed game, a rush game, is always bad. A delayed game is eventually good. Yeah. So I think if we take that into account, you rush it, you throw everything in there, and nothing ever cooks, right? You just rush it out the door. Everything is just going to be half baked. But if you take your time with it, you can never really overcook a game, right? We spoke about that. You can work on it and perfect it because it's an art. It's an art form. And so that issue that you have with making food doesn't really happen, right? With art. So we can actually take forever if we wanted to. So time, we already know that rule makes sense. And so for me, it's just a rule of game development. I do think that if you rush it out the door, it's not going to be good. If you take your time, it'll eventually be good. And so that's what we need to do with it. I think combat is the most important thing. I think if anything doesn't impact combat in any way or doesn't enhance it in any way, and it just doesn't go on the timeline, right? And that's how we decide what we need to cut from the timeline expectation and what stays in. It's got to make all three pillars shine, and that all comes through really strong combat.